This is someone really cool you want to hear from. I know him well. It was about at 17 years old, when he was in high school, he started a business. That business has become the industry leader in his category of bicycles, and he has done it through a unique customer experience model. So if you ever want the opportunity to meet an icon, say someone who started something from scratch and created tons of jobs, tons of value, and a whole new type of customer experience, that's who you're about to hear from.
The reason why I can know how much money I can spend on a customer is I know how much a customer is worth. A customer to me is worth $12,500 from the time they get their first bike until they get their last bike when they retire, and all the things in between. For a recreational customer, they're going to spend $12,500. What does that equate to? Well, it equates to $5,650 profit, gross margin of about 45% with bikes and accessories included. So my employees look at customers and understand that they're a $5,650 profit, not a customer trying to take advantage of some policy that is built in the background to protect our company. We just remove all of those, because every time a customer comes in, we're trying to guarantee that we collect $12,500 of that customer's opportunity and not have them leave $3,000 in or $2,000 in because they're disappointed in what we do.
We had a relationship with them that went beyond the transaction. Today, we have 35 million customers, 35 years later, and we're struggling all the time to have that same kind of relationship with them. I also believe in a multi-channel company. So yes, we're an e-commerce company. Yes, we're an e-commerce company that happens to be a florist. And yes, we're increasingly trying to become a social commerce company, because if it's just transactions, we're not going to survive. We want to become a social company where our customers are part of our company. They're increasingly suggesting all the products we sell. They're naming the products. They're bringing the advertising ideas to the table.
It's about the entire experience. So if you don't have the remit to question, what do the business flight experience seats look like, okay, then you're not going to be able to accomplish what you need to do. You need the entire remit of what that journey is and all of the touch points around that. And you're going to be crossing department lines. And you have to insist that you own that and you have the right to question what's happening in those department lines. Now that, let's say that was a 3-year journey to get to where we needed to get to with Delta, and we're still on the journey with them, and there's still a long way to go. But the improvements we made around that pivot of product managers, not organizational lines, was an incredibly important piece for us to do.
What it really comes down to, and I heard it in our previous speaker, it comes down to empowerment. And for us, it's empowering our people to make the decisions to refund, to make that phone call, to take responsibility for the actions that they may not have caused. And I think it's very important that you empower your folks to make the right call. And oftentimes I have people that do things that are beyond their, quote, limits or policies, and I'll get involved and I'll say, well, why did you do it? And as long as the answer involves, well, it was the right thing for the customer or the bank had made a mistake, then limits or policies really go out the window. And I want people to know what the rules are, and I want them to know when to break them. And I think that's an important combination. If you don't know the rules, you're in trouble. And if you don't know when to break them, I think you're in more trouble.
There is something about media. There's something about data that we've got to worry about. Okay? We got to know where these people were before. We got to know how they behave. Because we don't want to serve them irrelevant information when we talk to them, when they transact with us.
And the other thing that happens very often, not very often at Google, but we have things we call code yellows. And a code yellow means if there is a problem, for instance, we had a Gmail latency issue, it's just slower than we wanted. We turned a code yellow on, which meant no engineer was allowed to launch a new feature until we resolved the problem that was facing our customers. And if it was just performance, we said until the performance gets better, you don't get to work on anything else until this problem is solved. And that gives us a huge amount of organizational impetus.
Over the last 4 years, as we've transitioned from a heavy consumer emphasis to a heavy B2B, we restructured our B2B organization into vertical markets. And so those vertical markets have specialists in the vertical market and within each of those customers. And so they have an account manager in a vertical, or a head of a vertical market, and he's the traffic cop to make sure that we don't have 10 different Panasonic salespeople. We may have 10 different Panasonic salespeople, but it's all coordinated now, whereas 5 years ago, it could have been 10 different companies calling on the same customer. So we're not perfect at it. We've got a bit of a way to go, but that's how we did it. We restructured into vertical markets rather than by product. Traditionally, we were always by product. So it's a 180-degree shift. But it's a more profound shift than just product to customer. It's thinking internally to now thinking about the customer first. It's a big change for us, and it's not going smoothly.